Touhou is huge, a near endless treasure trove of fanworks that I'll probably never hit the bottom of. There's a lot to be had in this series, from the games that very few could muster up the will to play, the lore that's a lot longer than a few wiki articles, to fanworks that have grown far beyond the series itself. And probably the reason most of us got into the series, the music. Touhou music is vast and varied. Through soundtracks, printworks, CDs, and other miscellaneous works, ZUN has been able to carve out a style for the series, and although the instruments and sound font sound a bit primitive, sounding like it came out of beatbox, that didn't stop the sheer amount of fan rearrangements and covers of the songs in the series, spawning a fan base with a catalog of over 100k songs and 2,000 bands and musicians. And one of those musicians being me. Howdy, I'm AllVoice, and I've wasted almost a year of my life. So about a year ago, I went and took on one of my biggest projects yet, the Touhou Song Sorter. It's a site that ranks every Touhou song by matching them up in a 1v1 setup, which one is better, and compiles the result in an ordered list. Kinda like the Touhou character sorter, if you've heard of that one. But unlike the character sorter, which has over 160 characters, this one has over 770 songs. You were definitely meant to limit the number of songs, but I went ahead and checked all of the boxes. This was gonna take a long time. So after several sit-downs, sit-throughs, countless breaks, breakthroughs, and breakdowns, and after 1-2 lost save files later, let's go. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. I was an idiot. It's just down here. This is too big. Let's go. And after a year's worth of trudging through the sorter and refining some of the placements, I've come out with a full ranking of every Touhou song in the series. And what better to do with it than to share it with y'all. So without further ado, here's my top 20 favorite Touhou songs of all time. And right off the bat, this one's an unusual pick. Being a random location theme for Keisen's Hermit World, I wouldn't blame you if you just never heard of this one before. Like most original songs in the fighting games, they're more often than not mostly overlooked for the character themes and rearrangements, this one being no exception. Composed by Uni Akiyama, who's also responsible for a lot of the other music from the other spin-off fighting games. And as always, Uni is able to make a track that sounds Touhou and kicks ass. And you can tell immediately. The beginning of the song starts off calm, almost somber in a way, but it doesn't take long shedding it off and dragging you through a lively dance of keys that, at first listen, had me lost for words. But after 1,000 listens, I think the part I like about it the most is just how well arranged it is. This won't be the last song on the list from Uni. Far from it. coming out of the marketplace, this one was a surprise. Now I've noticed the talk around the more recent games haven't been too positive, and although I can't really say much about the games themselves, because yeah. But as for the music, I've come to dispel any unconnected, unsound rumors around. The newer entries have a lot of stage themes that are really good, and really long, so I might have to cut this one up. The Abandoned or Obsolescent Industrial Remains has an ominous title and a kind of eerie location, but it's otherwise a really upbeat and cheery song. I could describe the song as almost playful, with energetic drums, high Zunpit wails, and beautiful song progression. This song sort of takes you on a journey through a dim dark abandoned train shaft with little to no air to breathe. Fun! Soaring through the skies of the PC-98 era with pure malice in the air, a wave of nostalgia flies by as the stars faintly glitter in the night sky. Suspicious name aside, this song is a fan favorite, and I believe it deserves all the praise it gets. Listening to it feels like flying through the night sky. It's able to convey a sort of childlike glee and wonder. With MIDI, FM synth instruments, and crunchy percussion, this song is able to sound both retro and dreamy. And although a lot of other PC-98 songs, especially from this portion of the series, have also been able to pull off a similar kind of vibe, this song just has a special bounce to it, with a truly stunning melody that elevates this song to a whole nother level. Complemented with the right instruments, just makes this song so unbelievably cute and endearing. Oh, and also it's technically an Alice stage theme. This won't be the last Alice song on the list. High above the sky, in the vast emptiness of space, floats the abandoned vessel of Satellite Torafune. And wandering through its artificial forests, the two members of the secret sealing club discover the living life forms that have adapted to the unoperating space station, as another one of their adventures in uncovering the mystical aspects of the everyday world. Okay, so Hifu Club is probably one of my favorite subsections of the Touhou world. Not only do I like the setting, with the futuristic outside world where the fantastical grows further distant in the past, but I also adore the music. Now there were a few other songs that could have made the list. Greenwich in the Sky, probably the most popular Hifu song, just barely got on the list, along with Satellite Cafe Terry's, which probably has one of the best piano breakdowns in Touhou as a whole. But out of all of them, this one came out on top. Trojan Asteroid Jungle is a punchy and electrifying song that continues the spacey vibes and atmosphere throughout the CDs in both Magical Astronomy and this one, and all the while also matching the setting of exploring a deep space structure teeming with artificial life. What really makes this song for me though is the bounce and energy that the song comes with, especially in the coming section, which pretty much made the song for me. To say this song is unpopular is an understatement. Not only is Ichirin herself, the character who owns this theme, unpopular herself, but I'd say the song doesn't even stand out in its own game, with hopelessly groovy songs like Ghostly Passenger Ship or powerful cinematic ones like Fires of Hawkeye. But screw it, this song deserves more love. Stylish Girl is so bright and fun, it's infectious. This is probably my personal happy song, but it also has some parts that are genuinely beautiful and heartfelt. Like this part. Shout out as well to the Hopeless Masquerade version by Uni Akiyama himself. I don't want to take up more spots on the list for other versions of the same song, so I'll just talk about all of them in one placement. The blasting horns and energy of the song is unlike the original, and I might actually prefer it to the original. The plucking strings later in the song is also really cool. As a whole, I think I might just like the original UFO version, but I like this one as well. As for the Urban Legend in Limbo version, that's a different story. It's my favorite official arrangement of this song, arranged by CYCLONE. This one's a bit more laid back, fun going, and pulling a more jazzy funk mood to it. This section specifically probably being my favorite moment in any of these versions. Love it. Now, does this count as a Touhou song? Well, the first two Seihyo entries have Touhou characters in them, so they count. I make the rules here. Besides, I love Seihyo, and this song is the representative theme for Seihyo's awesomeness. This song is chaotic, with some majestic moments with just a touch of elegancy, fit for a flying robot maid. The ultimate climax of the song also just so happens to be the best representation of being suddenly thrown into the air above the clouds to hopelessly fall to certain death. Listening to it does a better job at painting the picture. I find Dolls in Pseudo Paradise a fascinating CD. Being Zun's first foray into making a musical CD, most of the rearrangements in this album that he often puts in his CDs come from his earlier works like EOSD, PC-98, to even games outside of Touhou, Seihyo especially. But another one of those series is a project by a friend of Zun, Baitaro, called Turtle Magic, which from what I could guess was a fan game based on the characters of a manga series called 10 Carat Torte, or is it Torte from Heaven? I don't know. The song itself, however, is a beautiful ride of emotions, with the song starting off slow and gloomy, almost to catch you off guard, following into a dramatic rise with bursts of optimism, some parts of the song dipping into more bright and gleeful moments, whilst the climax cries out, giving probably the most beautiful strings I've ever heard in a Touhou song, being absolutely gut-wrenching. It's best to just hear it yourself. This one's a special song for me. I first discovered it from a fan arrangement, which you'd think would be a lot more common, but this would actually be one of the few PC-98 songs I discovered through fanworks, so transitioning back to the original version was kinda jarring. Over the years, however, I've grown to really like this song, if it wasn't obvious enough being on the list. To me, this song is like a PC-98 song that's actively being held back by being a PC-98 song. Although most tracks from this era do well enough utilizing the outdated sound fonts to their own benefit, whilst owning the retro aesthetic, the tunes on this one sound like they're screaming to be played on better instruments. But even with that, this song is still awfully charming. It sounds so sparkly. The glossy and lustrous sounds on this one make it pure magic to my ears. In my humble and clearly unqualified opinion, Dolls in Pseudo Paradise is Zun's greatest work as just a collection of music. The songs in the album paint the picture of a story and scenery before you've even read the text Zun writes for them. And being the opening track of the album, Legend of Horai leaves a huge impression. As the album grows darker and further bleak, this song serves as the heart, the what was, the initial ray of sunshine that gets corrupted and bloodied as the story goes on. What else can I say that you can't just get by listening to the song? This is probably the most natural sounding Touhou song, and I'd wholeheartedly say it's a masterpiece in every single way. This song is also very long. I skipped to the piano section, my favorite part. I'm weak to piano parts. Alright, this might be the most divisive pick on the list. Coming from the most recent game as of recording this video, off the jump, this song has had mixed opinions, and even I'm kinda conflicted with putting it this high. So I really had to sit with this one, asking myself, why do I even like this so much? Because in all honesty, I don't think the melody really stands out. I mean, I like it, but it does start to get repetitive, and without the Mongolian chanting, I don't think I'd personally be able to take away much from this song. It definitely sacrifices a bit of the texture in order to give center stage to the vocals. So let's focus on that. Okay, so Zun's not a stranger to taking foreign inspirations. The Windows era literally started with EOSD, a game littered with European influence, and that one China song. Actually two. And very recently, he's also been taking in some strange instruments and samples, especially in Wily Beast and Living Ghost. Now, I don't want to talk up Yudoalg, damn these acronyms, because there are a lot of songs that I just didn't like in it, but the highlights in the tracklist really do stand out. I just re-listened to this song again, and I only just now noticed the piano playing in the background. There's more to this song than meets the eye, or ear, and of course, the vocals themselves rule the track, giving it a kind of intensity that is straight up unmatched by any other song in the series. And as the curtains fall, taking to the stage stars the most disastrous duo and their theme of egoistic flowers. Except it's not because this is actually a bonus track. I really do recommend going through the fighting game CDs, because you'd miss out on gems like this, stuff you just never hear going through the games. And I admit, at first I was pretty lukewarm on the original Egoistic Flowers, so me liking this song so much was kind of a surprise. It must have been the right time and place that really swayed me into liking it. This version feels more like a live performance more than the actual live version. It really just did what it needed to do to make the melody really stand out and shine. As for the most recent version, it definitely mixes things up a bit, with Zeki7 picking up right after U2, being pretty much the main arranger for the Sunken Fossil World soundtrack, and along with that, gave their own rendition of the flowery theme, being a lot more synthy along with keeping up with the style of the game it's in, although again, not a fan of the noticeably fake crowd claps, but luckily they don't take up too much space in the song. Just had to pause a bit for that part. Loved the more subdued underwater feeling on it. It'd probably be my favorite part of any version of this song if it wasn't for this piano guitar breakdown in U2's version. Pop off. I've noticed I haven't given much love to the classic early Windows era of Touhou so far, which I hope to make up for with this pick. Early Touhou, especially the first 3 games, hold a lot of memories for me, but as time goes on and just listening to more music, I do come back to these earlier tracks feeling like the larger-than-life quality to these songs have worn off for me. All of that to say that this song is the huge exception. Even back then I knew this song was a top song. And to this day, the high-pitched blaring Zunpet still blow me away. And as a whole, this song just does an amazing job at being the final boss theme of Imperishable Night, which also just so happens to be the first game I once CC'd. Good times. I absolutely love Tokyo Active NEETs. For a while I probably would have said they were my favorite Touhou Doujin circle, and it took me a while to find out this song was actually by them. Active NEETs is a circle that does fun jazz arrangements of several series, but most prominently, Touhou. They also have a sister circle of Symphony Active NEETs that do classical arrangements of the songs. But anyways, so I eventually did find out this was by NEETs, and it didn't take me long for me to utterly fall in love with this song. NEETs just did their thing. They just do a really good job at making fun and listenable jazz, and not much else to say. They're neat. Anyways, sick ass sax solo up ahead. Take it away. Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom is insane. Not only is the game just a hellhole on its own, but every song off the tracklist feels large and climactic, and in this absolutely stacked soundtrack, I'm kinda taking a more unpopular pick. Wheel of Fortune is an intense, Zunpet blaring, and almost militaristic theme, following in the MIDI drum heavy direction Zun's been trying to pull off since probably DDC. The melody is anthemic, very simple, but in that simplicity that makes it stand out in fan arrangements. There was this one video called Every Song with Sagme's theme, Motif, and I believe it had sadly been deleted by now. But the video narrowed down where the melody was implemented in each song, showing just how moldable the melody is to fanworks. Here's a few examples. Now, this ain't the only Touhou theme that gets this treatment, far from it, but this song's the only one I actively hunted down every arrangement for. I love this song to death, and it helped me discover some of my favorite circles in the community. I have a slight confession to make. I'm not really much of a metalhead, and this being the first one on the list goes to show that metal is kind of a blind spot for me. I've been trying to warm up to it though. I've been listening to a few albums, and I still do rank metal songs fairly highly on the list, with this being one of them. I've never really listened to much of DBU's music, or any of Dobu Usagi's works for that matter, but this song vastly improves upon the original, of which I was kinda mixed on. The original song had beautiful melodies all throughout, and DBU did a great job at translating it to a more comfortable pace. The audio is a bit murky, making the song sound a bit of a mess, but the visceral hits, the vibrant strings, the screeching lead shine through the song, making it feel like a raw, guttural expression of emotion, which, for this character, sounds just about right. Wandering through a strange wonderland, the heroine of our story stumbles upon a young magician known simply as the Girl of Death, who confronts her protagonist in a world of her own, being Alice in the Magic Land. And with that, setting the stage for the emotional journey that is this song. Everything I've said for the previous PC98 songs apply to this as well, with a bit of whimsy and wonder reminiscent of the strut and stutter of theatrical stage plays and musicals. And knowing Alice is a doll maker with her own cast of doll puppets, it fits. I also have to mention this video by Marco Meatball on Touhou Music that kinda reignited my love for this song. In that video, he specifically talked about this song, discussing the importance of melody and showing me that this song is able to convey the journey and traits of a character with no context, not even knowing the name of the character who owns it. With an air of finality, sentimental longing, and of course the perfect theme to beat up a flying shrine maiden. Wow. Back-to-back Alice themes. I promise this is the last one on the list. Immediately after Alice in Wonderland, we get to the Grimoire of Alice, except it's the Soku version. You can probably tell that I kinda got a soft spot for jazz, and this is like casino jazz. It's hopelessly groovy, and such class, such class. This song is very short, only lasting a brief minute and a half before it loops again. But in that minute and a half, this song's already been able to pump some groove and rhythm in your head before you even know it. And if it didn't, well, I guess you're head empty, brain gone. again with Hiso Tensoku, but this time our Hiso Tensoku. And immediately this one doesn't sound at all Touhou, sounding more like a retro mecha anime opening. Appearing in the game as a pre-battle stage theme, this song has no right to be this good. But still, it got a full version and a karaoke version for some reason. I first discovered this song from a Lyrical Live fan lyrics video, and from then on I've absolutely loved this song. And it probably jump-started my love for the fighting OSTs, with Hiso Tensoku being the first one I got. For a while I probably would have said this was my favorite Touhou song, but times change and it always kinda irked me that aesthetically it really doesn't sound very Touhou, if you know what I mean. I've heard this song been described as a generic anime theme, and it really is. But I still do think it's able to carry the energy of Soku, a weird and wacky adventure with misunderstandings everywhere, with our protagonist trying to take down a giant balloon. So, your average Touhou plot. But it's fun! It's fun. This morning news is, as papers scatter the sky, an eager and maybe a little desperate reporter distributes the latest entry of her articles as a journalist for the Bunbunmaru newspapers, getting Bunbun bullied throughout the Jinsokyo. And with the penultimate pick comes the theme of Ayaya Shame Imaru. This one's very well known, and for a while I've always really liked this song, but honestly, if it wasn't for the song sorter, I probably wouldn't have found out just how emotional this song is. It was my first time listening to the extended version from Bohemian, and the added piano section threw me for a loop. It did everything a piano section could and should have, with an improvised solo, a recreation of the chorus, and it even continued to linger as an accompaniment in the chorus. And couple that with the fact that this song is already a groovy, beautiful, and absolute joyride of a song. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You haven't gotten to that part yet. Aside from the new parts, this song pretty much stays the same as the short version, but the added sections really just complete the song for me, putting together the perfect package of Zunpets and misinformation. I mean, alternative facts. But before I get to my final song, let's have a few honorable mentions. Now, since I'm going through an ordered list, I'll just be taking numbers 25 to 21, the songs that just barely got on the list. So let's go for our lightning round, starting with Seiho as a whole is a goldmine for great music, reminiscent of a newer retro style of game, but the second entry in particular takes it to such heights and consistency that I'd probably say the soundtrack has no misses front to back, with this song being just my personal favorite out of the bunch. Fun and lively pianos sparks the imagination with sightly scenery, luscious landscapes, and a scrap metal fighter maid fighting a lightning-fast reporter firing several lethal bullets in the air. Wonderful. This one could have probably been higher on the list. A sick metal cover of Shotoku Legend, a song that I've also done a remix of. And for this one, Crow's Claw did a great job at upping the energy of the theme, especially since the original song was fairly laid back for a final boss fight. Toyosato Mimi no Miko is probably my favorite Touhou character, maybe only behind Satori, and this being her theme, I can confidently say that there wasn't any bias involved. Yep, I lied, there's still more Alice on the list. I'm sure every Touhou fan is familiar with this song, along with its several parodies. It's definitely a classic by Touhou standards, and I do have a lot of personal nostalgia for it, but besides that, I still do think there's more to the song than most people give it credit for. I love the additional instrument licks in the chorus, and how the song continuously stacks melodies throughout, especially in the build-up, that include very elegant and menacing strings to contrast the vibrant, colorful chorus of the song. Manga OSTs are a weird sector of the Touhou catalog. Most Touhou literature have them, but more often than not, they mostly carry over songs from the games. But in the cases where they do add original tracks, I wouldn't say the songs are anything to rave on about. This song, however, coming from my favorite Touhou manga, Forbidden Scrollery, belongs to Kozusu and fits her character pretty well. The song is pretty cute, and pretty fun. Just barely cracking into the top 20 comes Last Remote, crying out one of the most emotionally beautiful and tear-jerking climaxes since probably Witch of Love Potions earlier in the video. It could have very easily pushed its way through the list, if not for the intro and bridge sections between the more melodic parts of the song that personally put back for me. They do really well at building suspense for the coming sections, but on their own I wouldn't say I listen out for them. But speaking of building suspense, I've held you long enough. Let's get to the last pick of the list, and what I believe to be the best Touhou song in the series. Okay, seriously now. Before I even started out this whole song sorter journey, I kinda already had some guesses at what would probably be my favorite Touhou song. But as I got further into the list, it became painfully apparent that I probably couldn't bring another song above this one. Kids Festival, also known as Zun's theme, is the opening track to Zun's third music CD, and although I have no idea what urged him to place it there, I do know Zun has stated this song was probably one of the most difficult songs he's written for. Originally humming out and writing out lyrics to the song, which would later be left unsung, he'd also named the album after one of the lyrics, inadvertently writing not a song around an album, but an album around a song. Touhou music has a vast sound, and no other song in the series has gone out their way to represent every stylistic choice that makes a Touhou song, with large thematic melodies, dedicated piano section, and of course, the romantic zunpets throughout the song. I was very early on my Touhou journey when I first discovered Kids Festival, and going through the whole song sorter, I think I've come full circle with saying that not only do I think this is the most Touhou song in the series, but further being unquestionably my favorite Touhou song of all time.